One of the ways that comes to mind is a student longitudinal data system called LifeTracks that was built in Mississippi. And it brought together disparate agencies, and it brought together sort of the scientific expertise from a big data perspective of one of our university research groups called NSPARC at Mississippi State. And it drove a lot of points home for me in terms of bringing a lot of those smart people around the table. It highlighted challenges of a lot of different people coming at a lot of different issues. But this is something we've been talking about a good bit, and of course the theme of the conference is the idea that 2 and 2 equals 5, as I say, that you get these folks around there and you're going to get a whole lot more achieved. And it may be that partnerships with the research universities is going to be a pretty potent thing, from the skills they have, especially I think in big data or cyber, could certainly benefit us, but that's one that is top of mind for me. Yeah, we're doing a lot of large modernization projects, in partnership with many agencies. So we have begun the process and implemented the first part of modernizing the state's back office systems, accounting, finance, with an ERP implementation. Our public safety department has done, I think, a fabulous job in modernizing and working through modernizing our driver's license system. And I met with them just a few weeks ago. Our revenue department comes to mind as well. They have achieved sort of first ever in Mississippi the implementation of enterprise tax systems. We had multiple misstarts over the previous 10 or 20 years, and so they've done a great job. Public health is modernizing their health record. So, in some ways those things aren't overly sexy, it's, people want to talk about cyber and there's components there, but you got to make government go. And a lot of those systems do that. So I'm very proud to be partners with those agencies at various levels as they move forward. Well, I tell you what gets a lot of press is in cyber, the inability to recruit. But I will tell you though, I think kind of very directly, the public sector is going to have challenges. It was one of NASCIO's items that they focused on. We've talked about it already at the conference while we've been here. But there's a salary gap. Clearly, that's the first thing that people say. But just other flexibility issues, flexible hours. I will say one thing about public sector: you can't sort of burn the candle at both ends, right? If salaries lag a little bit, public sector pensions and the other part that always went with public service, I think has to be there. If you start eroding on both ends significantly, I think you'll have a lot of trouble with recruitment. However, someone made a comment, I think when we were just with the CIOs the other day at the conference of, this person had worked in private sector in a vertical. And he said, I came over to work as a CIO, spent years and years in private sector, and all of a sudden I'm working on healthcare stuff and GIS stuff, and wow. And I think that's the lure of the job. It's a very broad landscape, daunting at times, but nonetheless broad. So I think a lot of our e-government or mobile app stuff, we've really been heads down probably for 5 years. Our portal is refreshed regularly, really rolling out a lot of citizen-facing apps. One that comes to mind, I think, that I'm very proud of is our Secretary of State has been a leader in technology. He has a business one-stop that he has put up for the state. So one example of many, but I would say in that space we've been pretty aggressive for a state like Mississippi, which is a pretty small rural state. I think there's a lot of things that we do well, things that are difficult that we do well. I'll give you some examples. So, procurement is never the most fun topic to talk about. We always want to reform it, and we want to do, but I think our team at ITS does a great job, at getting through the procurements. They're competitive, they're legal. We move the state forward. It's process-wise, public procurement in general can be cumbersome. But I'm proud of all of our business units, to be candid. All of the things we do. One little known fact about Mississippi, it has nothing to do with me, is we're ranked 4th in the country for supercomputing. Not many people know that, right? See, I see. Mississippi State and Ole Miss have a large supercomputing presence, and that's a little known fact that we're very proud of. I think when you start, there's somewhat of a honeymoon period, and you get started. But I think some of the things of, to be really personal about it is, how important communicating is, how important, and we talked about this on Sunday, effective listening, not just listening, but hearing people and communicating. And it doesn't go away. You can have a great meeting, a great week, a great month, a great year, but you've still got to put the effort in to doing that, right? It never really stops being something that you should do. It can be a challenge because you're busy, right? The phone's ringing and you're in meetings, and listening takes patience and time. So, but it was really driven home. I mean, some of the challenges I've had in the state of just normal, bringing people together, or something was misconstrued that got said, but listening and communicating well. And I say this, I guess it sounds a little colloquial, but you never can have too many friends, right? And I know it's a business, but ultimately the friendship part of the collegiality of working with the agencies to the very best of your ability goes an awful long way, and that takes work.